Hi, thanks for joining me for this Scorpio-inspired class. Scorpio is a water sign, but it's interesting because it brings about a lot of transformation, which we usually associate with fire signs. But you can think of Scorpio transformation kind of like how water smooths out rock and pieces of driftwood over a really long period of time. It's kind of a subtle transformation, but it's very lasting. And this kind of transformation makes me think of our shadow self and the change that can happen very slowly when we just start to get to know ourselves better and these parts of ourselves that we don't think about a lot. So if you're not familiar with the shadow self, it kind of sounds mysterious and it might sound kind of negative and dark, but it's actually just the parts of ourselves that we like to keep hidden in the shadows. And this is usually because we're worried about how other people will react or judge us or what they'll think. For example, we usually don't like to cry in front of other people. So even if you're, say, at a funeral or something, and you might be trying to hold back crying because you feel embarrassed to cry in front of other people. And when that happens, you might feel that there's like a tightness in your throat or even in your shoulders. So the body is holding on to that unexpressed emotion, and when we don't allow ourselves to express and release those feelings, it can cause a lot of health problems in the body over time. So when you do your shadow work and you start to slowly notice kind of what things are triggers for you, what things you feel embarrassed about, and then you start to ask yourself, well, why? Where did this feeling come from? Where did I learn this from? And then you can start to find out what actually feels authentic to you and being able to express yourself. And so it's not something that we need to change, but rather something that we need to like fix, but it's rather something that we can use to get to know ourselves better and express ourselves in a healthy way. And it's not to say you're gonna like let your emotions just fly wild, especially when it comes to things like anger. But it's being curious about, why is this making me angry? Why am I reacting this way? How can I react differently? So it's more of a curiosity rather than just, I need to not be angry or I need to be angry and express that way. But finding a healthy way to do that and being curious as to why it's happening. So we are going to begin in a seated position for this practice. And you are welcome to come into a cross-legged seated position, or perhaps take a block or two. And I like it on the narrowest setting, and then sit on the block. And you could also turn it, actually maybe I like it this way better, on the medium setting, the lowest setting down, but then turned so that it's long, so both sit bones can rest on it. And we're going to bring awareness down to the area of the pelvis and the pelvic floor. This is the region that Scorpio governs. So start by closing your eyes and take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Start to visualize your diaphragm and how it moves as you breathe. So with the inhale, the diaphragm starts to lower down, and as you inhale, it lifts back up. As you exhale, it lifts back up. Inhale, the diaphragm expands and lowers down, and as you exhale, it gently lifts back up. The diaphragm and the pelvic floor muscles kind of work together in a similar way. So when that pressure is applied to the diaphragm, we feel it down into the pelvic floor region. So start to notice if you can feel the pelvic floor muscles. And that same subtle movement that happens as you inhale, the pelvic floor muscles lower. And as you exhale, they gently lift back up. And release that focus and begin to reach your arms out to the side and up, taking a deep breath in. Bring the fingers to touch up overhead, and then slowly lower your hands down through heart center. Inhale, reach your arms out to the side and up, bringing your palms together, and exhale down to your heart. One more really deep breath in, reaching out and up. And exhale down to heart center. And here, rub your hands together, creating some heat. And then take your right hand and start to rub around your left wrist, the inside of the wrist, the top of the wrist, around the forearm, and a little bit up towards the elbow. Preparing our wrists and our hands for some weight bearing. And then switch sides using your left hand, massaging your right. And then release that and circle your wrists a few times in one direction. And then circle your wrists a few times in the other direction. And then lower your hands down. You can remove the block if you're sitting on it and come around into a tabletop position, bringing your hands, your wrists under your shoulders, your knees under your hips, and begin to move between cat and cow pose. As you inhale, stretching the front body. As you exhale, round your back, push the floor away, and just start to notice how your body's feeling. Notice if there's any tension stuck in the neck and the upper back. Just becoming aware without being harsh, without judging. Just be curious, start to notice. Building your self-awareness. And then come back through center, and we'll start to make some little circles here. So we'll just start with your pelvis. Coming into that cow pose, and then sliding your pelvis to the left, tucking your tailbone to come through cat pose, and then press the hips a little bit to the right, lift the tailbone, and do that a few times, circling around the pelvis. We'll break this up into pieces, and then switch the direction of your pelvis circles. And come back to center. Then we'll do the same thing or a similar thing with the rib cage. So you'll press up through cat pose, slide your rib cage to the left, down to the right, up and around. And switch the direction. And come back to center. Then we'll put those two together and maybe add the head in. So slide your hips over to the right, slide your rib cage over to the left side, your head to the right, circle around, coming through cat pose and cow pose. come back through center, switch the direction of your circles. And if that feels like too much all together, just break it down into one section that felt good for you. Then come back through center, take your knees out wide, and find a few bear circles, shifting forward, to the right, back, to the left, and around. Notice how it feels in your hips. And switch the direction of your circles. And make your way back to center into tabletop. Tuck your toes under, start to lift your hips up and back into downward facing dog. And find a little bit of movement in your down dog. Maybe bending one knee and then the other. Rocking your hips from side to side, or bending and straightening both knees. Then lower your knees back down into tabletop. Lower your forearms down for dolphin pose, bringing your hands together. Press the forearms into the mat. Relax your head and your neck. Lift the knees off of the ground. And just pause here for a moment. Taking some deep breaths into the back. And lower your knees back down. Press your hands down into the mat. Lift up into downward facing dog. Start to walk your feet forward to the top of the mat, coming into a forward fold. Take your feet out nice and wide, soften your knees, and come into ragdoll, either just letting your arms dangle or hold on to opposite elbows. And gently sway from side to side, or forward and back. Give your head a little shake. Relax your jaw. And then release your hands down, toe heel your feet to about hip width distance apart. And with your next inhale, lift up halfway to lengthen your spine, reach the crown of your head forward. As you exhale, soften your knees to let the back release as you fold forward. Inhale, let's roll up to standing. Stacking the spine, a little tuck of the tailbone, then roll the shoulders back, down, and around a few times. Switch the direction of your circles, rolling the shoulders forward. Then inhale, reach your arms out and up. Exhale, open your arms out wide to the side and swan dive forward, leading with your heart. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, forward fold, plant your hands and step back into a high plank. Let's hold this high plank. You're welcome to drop the knees down or keep them lifted. And always feel free to explore some movement, getting to know what feels good for your body rather than staying in a rigid position. And lower your knees down. Really press your hands down into the mat, especially around the base of your fingers. And kind of like you're opening a jar, dial your hands out to the side of the mat. And they won't move very much, but you'll feel the engagement in your arms. Feel a little tuck of your tailbone, the low belly lift, and keep the back of your head and neck lifted in line with your spine. Then lower with control all the way down to the mat. When you get there, lift your chest for cobra. Then exhale, press yourself up and back into a child's pose. Taking your knees out wide, sit your hips back towards your heels. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. One more inhale and exhale. And inhale forward. Let's do that one more time. Downward facing dog. Sun salutation A. Inhale, lift your heels. Exhale, bend your knees. Make your way to the top of the mat, forward fold. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, roll all the way up to standing. Reach your arms out and up. Exhale, swan dive forward, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands down, step back to high plank. Lower your knees and lower with control all the way down. Inhale, cobra. Exhale to downward, or actually to child's pose, knees wide, sit the hips back towards your heels. 2 deep breaths here. Start to lift back up and come into a tabletop position. We'll start our first sequence here. So begin to lift your right knee back and up and feel the glutes engage. Make sure you're not letting the pelvis really tip forward and dipping in the low back, but there's a little lift of the abdominals. And start to pulse, lifting your right toes or your heel up towards the ceiling and then letting the leg lower just a little bit. Lifting up and back to center, pressing up. Start to feel the glutes warming up, waking up. Let's go for 3, 2, and 1. Then lower that right knee down to hover next to the left and start to lift your right knee straight out to the right side and back down. Lift it straight to the right side, really press down into the right hand and then right knee back down. Lift it out to the side and try not to shift the hips over to the left too much. Right knee lifts and down, holding everything else steady. Just moving the hip. 2 more. And release the knee down. Tuck the toes, lift up and back, downward facing dog. Float the right leg back and up into 3-legged down dog. Bend your knee and circle your right hip a few times in one direction. Then circle it a few times in the other direction. On your next inhale, straighten your right leg into 3-legged down dog. And with your exhale, take a big step to the top of the mat. Blocks might be really nice under your hands here. And you can choose if you want to keep the back knee lifted or drop it down. We're going to make some little circles. So imagine drawing a circle in the air with your knee, so that the hips go forward, to the right, back, to the left, and around. And switch the direction of your circles. And then come back to center. Tuck your back toes to lift your left knee if it's down, and start to turn to the left, facing the long edge of the mat. You can take your blocks with you if you'd like. Find a few side lunges, bending one knee and then the other, letting your hips go back into space, kind of like you're sitting back into a chair. Then bring your hips to center. Bend your knees, roll up to standing. Reach your arms out to the side and up. Bring your palms together and then down into a goddess squat, turning the toes out a little bit, heels in, and open your arms out to the side. Add just a little pulse of your hips, lifting and lowering. Feeling a steady breath in and out through your nose. Then we're going to hold here. Bring your hands onto your hips, and you might turn the toes in a little bit to give you more stability. We're going to circle the pelvis, really little circles. So you'll kind of lift the right hip up and then lift the tailbone up, over to the left, forward, and around, circling the pelvis. And as you do this, it feels a little sensual. So kind of notice how it feels to do that. And then switch the direction of your circles. And get curious about what beliefs you have around your sensuality and where they come from, and what it might feel like if you embrace that part of you. And then start to straighten your legs, reach your arms up, turn your right foot to face the front of the mat, and come down into a warrior two stance. Flip both palms, and on your inhale, straighten your front leg, reach your arms up so the fingertips come to touch. Exhale, go deep into that right hip as you rebend your right knee. Inhale, push down into the right foot, lift the arms up. Exhale, warrior two. One more time like that. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, warrior two. Then straighten your front leg, turn to face the long edge of the mat, wide leg forward fold. And let your torso, your head hang heavy for a moment. Maybe give your head a little shake. Then lift up onto fingertips, take your blocks with you if you're using them as you turn back around to the top of the mat and step your back foot forward, forward fold. Inhale, rise all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Toe heel your feet out nice and wide with the toes out a little bit, heels in, coming into a low squat, malasana. Start to bend your knees. You could bring your hands to your thighs or towards your knees and hold here. Or you might go a little bit deeper, maybe sitting on a block or two. Or the hips can hover, bringing hands to heart center. Take about 2 deep breaths wherever you're at. And start to press yourself back up to standing. Toe heel your feet to about shoulder width distance apart. Then reach your arms up to the ceiling and make sure you have enough room to fold forward here. We're gonna take a releasing breath. So it'll look like this, bending the knees as you swing your arms back and up, and then reaching back up on the inhale. So a deep breath out through your mouth, and inhale, reach up. Exhale out through the mouth, folding forward, inhale, reach up. And let any fears, any anxiety, stress, anything that you've been holding on to in your body or worries about what other people will think, try to let that go. Let's do 3 more. Last one. And a deep breath in, reach your arms up. Exhale, pause for a moment with your hands at your heart. And inhale, reach your arms out and up. You can toe heel the feet a little bit closer together. Swan, dive forward, letting the arms open out to the side. Lead forward with the chest, forward fold. Let's step back into high plank. Drop the knees, lower all the way down. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, back to child's pose, taking your knees out wide, getting into the hips. Sink hips to heels. And take about 2 or 3 deep breaths. Start to lift back up, come into tabletop. And we'll take that on the other side. So begin to bring your left knee back and up, either pointing the toes up to the ceiling or you can flex your ankle. And lift up just a little bit higher, feeling the glutes engage and trying to keep everything else nice and steady, just moving at the hip, pulsing by lifting up a little bit higher and then letting the leg come back to neutral. Let's do 3, 2, and 1. Then lower your left knee down to hover next to your right knee and lift it straight out to the left side. And it might lift up to about hip height, but it's okay if it doesn't lift as high, but try to keep everything else nice and steady. Really pressing down into your left hand, down into the floor as the knee lifts to the side. Last one. Lower the left knee down. Tuck your toes under, lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Then float your left leg back and up into a three-legged down dog. Bend your knee and circle your hip a few times in one direction, and then a few times in the other direction. With your next inhale, straighten your left leg, three-legged down dog. Exhale, shift forward, bringing your knee towards your nose, and then step it all the way through. Here you can drop your back knee, or you can choose to keep it lifted, and maybe add the blocks underneath your hands to give you a little more space as we find some circles. Circling forward, to the right, back, to the left, and around. Then switch the direction. Just exploring some movement, noticing how it feels. Come back through center, tuck the back toes to lift your right knee, turn to the right. You can take your blocks with you if you'd like, and find a few side lunges, bending your right knee, sitting the hips back, and then bending your left knee. Bring your hips back to center, soften your knees, roll up to standing. Inhale, reach, turn the toes out. Exhale into your goddess squat, arms out to the side. Pulse your hips for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then hold here, bring your hands to your hips, and we'll do those little pelvis circles again. And see if you can just own it this time, with letting your embarrassment go. And then switch the direction of your circles. And notice how good it feels in the low back and the hips. And then come back through center, straighten your legs, reach your arms up. Come into warrior two, turning your left foot to face the front of the mat. Open your arms out wide. And then flip both palms. And on your inhale, straighten your front leg, reach the arms up overhead, touch the fingertips together. Exhale deep into your warrior two. You might even widen your stance a little bit each time. Inhale, press, straighten, reach up. Exhale down to warrior two. One more time like that. Inhale, reach. And exhale, warrior two. And straighten your front leg, turn to face the long edge of the mat, and come down into a wide leg forward fold. Letting your head and neck maybe shake side to side, releasing any tension there. Then lift up onto fingertips or blocks as you turn to the top of the mat, turning your toes as you go. Step your back foot forward so you're in a forward fold at the top of the mat. Now let's toe heel the feet out wide and sit the hips down into your low squat. You can also come from standing and have the hands on your thighs or knees. Feel free to explore rocking side to side. And we'll start to come back into mountain pose. So press down into your feet, reach your arms up, inhale, and then parallel your feet so they're facing the top of the mat. And we'll do a few of those releasing breaths. With your exhale out through the mouth, fold forward, sweep your arms back and up. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach. Shedding the old layers that aren't serving you. Any old belief patterns. One more. Then inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, bring your hands down to heart center and pause for a moment. And toe heel your feet to about hip width distance apart. Reach the arms straight up. Open your arms out to the side as you swan dive forward into your forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Plant your hands down and step back into high plank. Lower your knees, lower all the way down to your belly. Inhale, cobra. And exhale, back to a child's pose with the knees out wide, getting into the hips. 2 deep breaths here. Then ripple forward back to tabletop. And we'll go through that sequence one more time, adding a few things on. So start by lifting the right knee back and up and pulse for 3, 2, 1. Then lower that knee down to hover. Lift it out to the side for 3, 2, and 1. Then let's alternate, lifting the right knee back and up, lower it down, lift it to the right side and down. Lift it back and up, down, to the right side and down. One more time, back and up, down, to the right and down. Drop that knee, tuck your toes, lift up, downward facing dog. Float your right leg back and up, 3-legged down dog. Bend your knee, and this time maybe stack your right hip over your left hip so that your pelvis is turning open to the right side. Looking under your right armpit. Come back to center on your inhale, straighten the right leg, 3-legged down dog. With your exhale, take a big step to the top of the mat. And again, maybe fingertips or blocks under your hands. And explore, maybe if you had the back knee down last time, keep it lifted this time, or the other way around. And just find some circles, shifting forward to the side and back. Or any other movement. Exploring your body. Good, come back through center, turn to the left, facing the long edge of the mat. Soften your knees, this time roll up to standing. Reach your arms out and up and bring your hands down to heart center. Then side lunge to the left, bending your left knee. And push down into your left foot to step it next to your right foot towards the top of the mat, and you can lower your arms down beside your hips. Then take a big step out to the left, bending your knee as you land into your side lunge. And then push the floor away, come back to standing with the arms beside your hips. And once you have that movement, you can speed it up, finding a pace that feels good for you. Inhaling as you come down into your side lunge, and exhale as you push the floor away and come to standing. Let's do 2 more. Good, and then come back to a wide leg stance, but not too wide. And then we're going to take the arms out to the side with the palms facing down and the elbows bent. Twist to the left, twist to the right, and then as you twist to the left again, you're going to lift your left knee. And then twist right, left, lift your right knee. Twist left, right, lift your left knee. And again, once you have that down, you can start to speed it up, keeping a soft bend in your knees between sides when both feet are down. A deep inhale as you twist, and an exhale as the knee lifts. Let's do 1 more, and then come back through center. Inhale, reach your arms out and up. Exhale into warrior 2, turning your right foot to the front of the mat. Inhale, straighten, reach up. Exhale, warrior 2. One more time, inhale, reach. And exhale, warrior 2. Straighten your front leg, turn to the long edge of the mat, come down into your wide leg forward fold. Let's pause here for a moment. Hands can be on blocks or fingertips. Walk your hands over to your left foot. Then back through center, walk your hands over to your right foot. Back to center, take your blocks with you. If you have them as you turn to the top of the mat, step your back foot forward, toe heel your feet out wide, and then sit down into your low squat. Take 2 deep breaths here. Then press your hands down as you lift your hips up this time, coming right into your forward fold. Make your way back into high plank. Lower the knees, lower all the way down to your belly. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, this time press back and up into a downward facing dog. Float your right leg up, and then bring it forward, right knee towards your right elbow, lowering down into a pigeon pose. So you can decide how bent your right knee is. You might have your shin almost more parallel to the top edge of the mat, or you might have a deeper bend in your knee. And you can roll to your right hip and sit down, or you can keep the hips squared and lifted, or maybe you slide a blanket or a block underneath the right hip. We're going to stay lifted for this, or at least for the first few moments here. And then start to fold forward if you'd like, lowering your forearms down. Maybe they lower onto blocks or all the way down to the mat. And try to focus your breath, sending it all the way down to the sensation that you feel around your right hip. Noticing that tension. And see if you can release any tension there on your exhale. Like an ocean wave, your breath washes over the tension in the hip and smooths it out with your exhale. We'll start to release, pressing your torso back up, tuck the back toes, and lift back into downward facing dog. Bend one knee and then the other, rock your hips side to side, any counter movement that feels good. And then lower your knees back down into a tabletop position, and we'll start it on the other side. So bring the left knee back and up, pulse for 3, 2, 1, then lower that knee down, lift it straight out to the left side, and down, straight out to the left side, and down, one more, and down. Then we'll alternate lifting the left knee back and up, lower it down, lift it out to the left side, and down, lift it back and up, and down, out to the left side, and down. One more time, back, and down to the left, and down. Lower that knee, tuck your toes, lift up and back, downward facing dog. Shift the weight into your right foot, float your left leg up, 3-legged down dog. Bend your knee and start to stack your left hip over your right hip, so you're turning the pelvis open to the left, looking under your left armpit, pressing down into the hands. Come back through center, straighten your left leg. Take a big step to the top of the mat. And again, maybe you switch it up if you had the back knee down last time. Maybe you keep it, see how it feels to keep it lifted this time. And explore a little movement, rocking forward and back or side to side, or putting it all together in a circle. Good, then start to turn to the right to face the long edge of the mat. Bend your knees, roll all the way up to standing. Reach your arms out and up, bringing your hands down to heart center. Take a side lunge to the right, bending your right knee, sit the hips back, then push the floor away with the right foot as you step it next to your left foot at the top of the mat and lower your arms down beside your hips. Take a big step to the right, bending your knee as you land, hands to your heart, and then push the floor away to come back to standing. Inhale, side lunge. Exhale to stand. Inhale, side lunge. Exhale, push the floor away. A few more like that at your own pace. One more. And then come back to a wide leg stance. Open your arms out to the side. Bend your elbows, keeping the palms facing down to the ground. And then twist to the left, to the right. Lift the left knee. Twist right, left, lift the right knee. Left, right, lift the left knee. And start to smooth that out. Maybe speed it up once it makes sense in your body. And connect your breath. Inhale as you twist, and exhale as the knee lifts. One more. Then back to center, legs wide, reach your arms out and up. Exhale into warrior two, turning your left foot to the front of the mat. Inhale, straighten, reach up. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, straighten and reach. Exhale, warrior two. Straighten the front leg, turn your toes to face the long edge of the mat. Come down into your wide leg forward fold. Pause here for a moment. Then walk your hands over to your right foot. And over to your left foot. Back to center. Grab your blocks if you had them and turn back to the top of the mat. Step your right foot forward in a forward fold. Toe heel your feet out wide. And then sit down into your low squat. 2 deep breaths here. Lower your hands down, lift your hips up into a forward fold. Toe heel your feet towards each other. Make your way back to high plank. And one more time, lowering down all the way to your belly. Inhale, lift your chest for cobra. Exhale, back to downward facing dog. And we'll take pigeon on the other side. So start by floating your left leg up into a 3-legged down dog. And then bring the left knee forward. Sliding your right foot back as you lower the left knee, the left leg down. Settling into your pigeon pose. Take a few breaths with the chest lifted. And you're welcome to stay there or lower your forearms down, either onto the mat or onto blocks. And again, visualize your breath like an ocean wave, washing over your body, smoothing out any tension, just like it smooths out driftwood. Two more breaths here, relaxing on your exhale. And start to press yourself back up. And this time just lean a little bit to the left and swing your back leg around. Bring your feet flat on the mat. Reach your arms forward, take a deep breath in. And on your exhale, slowly start to roll through your spine, lowering all the way down to your back. And when you get there, take a full body stretch. Reach your arms up overhead, point your toes. And hug your right knee into your belly. Wrap your hands around your shin. Give it a gentle squeeze in. And guide your knee towards your right armpit. And give it another little squeeze. And guide your knee across your body, coming into a twist. Roll to your left side. Your knee could land on a block or a bolster. Reach your right arm out to the side. And roll back through center and straighten your right leg on the mat. Bend your left knee, bringing it in towards your belly. Wrap your hands around your shin. Give it a gentle squeeze in. Take a deep breath. Relaxing around your hip as you exhale. And see if you can guide your knee just a little bit to the left so you're externally rotating, bringing your knee towards your armpit, and give it another gentle squeeze, relaxing any tension as you exhale. And when you're ready, guide your knee over to the right, across your body, roll onto your right side. You can adjust your hips, maybe sliding that right hip over to the left a little bit. Reach your left arm out to the side. And take about 3 deep breaths here. And roll back through center. Bring both knees in towards your belly. With your exhale, lift your nose up to your knees. Curl into a tight ball. Then with your inhale, relax your head and your shoulders back down. Land your feet on the ground and straighten your legs, coming into Shavasana, your final resting pose for the practice. And just seeing this as another opportunity for a fresh start. And we'll stay here with no effort, just allowing your body to relax and kind of absorb your practice before you move on to the rest of your day. And start to slowly bend your knees, roll onto your side, press yourself up, and come around to a seated position. All right, so now that we've connected to the Scorpio energy and we've started to cultivate self-awareness of what things we might be keeping hidden in our shadow self, now's a great time to sit and reflect on how you can work through your shadow self on an even deeper level to connect with this Scorpio energy. So there are a few journal prompts down in the description below. And the first one is, when do you feel the strongest reactions toward others or situations? And describe these reactions and consider what parts of your shadow self they might reveal. So oftentimes we kind of, when we see something in other people that we don't like, it's often a reflection of something within us that we could work on a little bit. And the second question is, Identify a trait in yourself that you tend to hide or feel uncomfortable with. And why do you feel the need to suppress this trait? And how might acknowledging it help you to grow? So sometimes we grow up learning to suppress certain things because of the way that our caregivers responded to us, or some things we've just been conditioned to kind of keep hidden because of the way that society views it. And this is an opportunity to really see what things you may not have known you were keeping kind of hidden about yourself because of the way other people would view it. And the third question is, write about a fear or vulnerability you've avoided addressing, and how could facing this aspect of yourself lead to greater self-acceptance or freedom? So thank you so much for joining me in this practice today. I hope this helps you to start to uncover parts of your shadow self, to really feel more comfortable and authentic to your true self. And just remember that this change happens really slowly over time. And that's something that I love about the yoga practice, is that I feel like it just naturally does this as we start to build more self-awareness and paying attention to how we feel and how different things feel to us. So continue with this good practice of getting to know yourself. Thank you for joining me. And if you want more videos like this, please like and subscribe to my channel. I also have a website, moonphaseyoga.com, if you'd like even more. I hope you have a great day. Thanks.